Another day has come and gone, and we have more evidence that this move to Las Vegas is probably not going to happen.
You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, A's fans. Welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about your Oakland A's all year long. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. If you don't believe me, there's my lower third. You can call me Sully. I've been a baseball podcaster for quite a while now, and this is my sixth full season as a member of the Locked On Podcast Network. Check me out on my other show, Locked On MLB. Have that be your second listen. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As playoffs wind down, the sports will stop sportsing, but we got the summer games going on now, and you can hook up with FanDuel. All customers get a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Okay, I am dropping this one a little bit earlier. I'm not going to be talking about the White Sox opener because when I'm recording this, it hasn't been played yet, and I'm going to do an episode where I cover multiple games of the series. As I'm recording this, the A's are on the verge of playing the Chicago White Sox, and I'm not going to lie to you, I'm a tiny bit nervous because the White Sox have indeed lost 20 straight games. It's very hard to lose 21 in a row. Sears is pitching, and he's pitched pretty well recently, and Kai Busch is pitching for the Chicago White Sox. If you've never heard of Kai Busch, please don't be worried. As of this recording, I am currently tied with Kai Busch in every single statistical category. This is his major league debut. Watch him throw a no-hitter. So we'll talk a little bit about my thoughts on the series that's coming up, but, you know, what am I going to say? I've been reading a bunch of things, including a Michael Schaus, who wrote an article for the Nevada Independent, which is, his article is called "The Never-Ending Uncertainty of the A's Stadium." I've been accused by a couple of people when I talk pessimistically about the A's move to Nevada, saying I'm biased, that I'm biased towards the A's staying in the Bay Area. I make no bones about it. I've never tried to hide the fact that I would prefer the A's to move to stay in the San Francisco Bay Area, whether it's in Oakland or whether it's in San Jose. I have said that San Jose seems like it should be a reasonable option. But no, I've never tried to pretend that I'm pro Vegas. I am pro baseball. And I know it hurts the game of baseball when there are franchises that have a drag on the rest of the league. Ironically, one of the franchises that is currently in that position are the Tampa Bay Rays, who are consistently winning, consistently putting a winning product on the field. And truth be told, the A's, while they lost 100 some odd last year, and they're not going to have a winning record this year, but they don't go very long with losing records. I mean, go back to even when the nanosecond they arrived here. They don't go long being bad. And so eventually, I think one of the sad things, I think the A's could probably turn it around with some of the foundational pieces they have in the team. But I've made no bones about that. I also think Las Vegas is a terrible spot for a Major League Baseball team. I've covered that. It's not the first team there. A team arriving there not as an expansion team will seem like interlopers. They're primarily Dodger fans there. Most of the population there are transplants. Baseball is the type of sport that needs deeply rooted fans. It's a disaster. But it's worse that you have idiots like the Fishers doing it. The Fishers who inherited their genes money and don't seem to have much knowledge to do anything else, and trying to find ways to scam money to build their palace. People who claim that I'm being biased and saying I'm only reading Bay Area reports Let me remind you, what I'm going to be reading from is from the Nevada Independent. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the Nevada Independent is probably going to be pro sports landing in Las Vegas. They're going to be pro Vegas. And yet every article that I've read from this publication has been saying the same thing, that there ain't no money. Howard Stutz wrote an article saying A's still looking to close financing for a stadium deal. This is all the way back on July 31st, about a week ago. We're saying in the article, it says with about 9 months to go, the A's are still seeking equity investors. And this is from JMP Securities, Mitch Germain, who's an analyst for JMP Securities, not an A's podcaster. The Oakland A's new stadium currently remains in a holding pattern. The last piece of the puzzle was private financing obtained by the owner for the remaining cost of the stadium. Chatter suggests this may have hit a roadblock. Oh, that's not it. The article by Michael Schaus, who was saying that the money, it's not clear where the money is coming from. And it says the A's are trying to negotiate seemingly basic terms of their agreement with the Stadium Authority Board, and details regarding everything from construction to game schedules remain hazy to this day. That was from an article yesterday. In about 9 months, they're supposed to be putting a shovel into the ground to start building a ballpark, which will supposedly be $1.5 billion, except here are the things we're not sure of. What is the stadium going to look like? What design has been approved? And how will they pay for it? But we all know Las Vegas can't wait to have them, right? A city full of Dodger fans where the mayor said maybe they should stay in Oakland. There is no way that the Fishers are going to suddenly go, oh, we found about $700 million worth of investors. I cannot claim to be a good investor. I cannot. This is not something that I have ever claimed to be in any way, shape, and or form. But I'm going to go out on a limb. Then you have a family full of Fredo Corleones, people who inherited their genes money without earning it, without any real business acumen, who have a history of scamming, of pocketing money given to them by Major League Baseball and not investing it in the team and not investing it in the stadium. These are not opinions. These are facts. To say, why don't we give you money? Why don't we get more money? All this could be solved if Fisher opens up his checkbook and just pays for it himself. He could have done that in Oakland. He could have built the stadium in Howard Terminal, or where I thought they should have done in the parking lot of the Oakland Coliseum. But he didn't, because that would require him doing something. And here we are. It was first announced that it was officially moving to Vegas months ago. The whole idea of they're going to be raising money was in the spring. We're now in August. Have I missed the stadium design that has been approved? Have I missed the financial package that has been approved? Everything that's not being said by the Fishers is the same stuff. The same old stuff. If it's not being said by the Fishers, what is the language we're hearing? Hazy, preliminary, roadblock. What was the other one? What was the other one who was saying? Holding pattern. That's a good one. Never-ending uncertainty. Hitting a snag. This is where we are. This isn't biased Bay Area papers who hate the Fishers, and this isn't the Fishers with their pom-poms. This is the Nevada Independent using the language that says, yeah, they don't have any money. They don't have any money. And do you know what? The A's just sold their share of the Coliseum land to local developers. A lot of them are local business owners and investors, people from Oakland, a lot of people of color, a lot of black-led development who are going to inevitably take that land and make it something more profitable than what we've seen recently. And I'm glad for that. But the move to Vegas isn't going to happen because at some point, the fact that there's been the feet being dragged and nothing being up front, eventually the people of Vegas are going to probably see the good folks in charge that saying, you know what, we got other ways to make money. We need to work with these fools. You know what? We'd rather wait for an expansion team. It's not like people are falling over themselves to be A's fans in Las Vegas, which means they'll be stuck in Sacramento. And I was just in Sacramento a couple of weeks ago. Lovely town, a little hot. So this is one of the greatest cases of I told you so I can ever imagine. This is not going to work. Can baseball work in Vegas? Maybe, but not with the A's. Why would they do business with the Fishers? Why would the city of Las Vegas do business with them? And they don't have to. So they shouldn't. And it doesn't look like they are. The key, I think, call me crazy, for moving a team is to either have a stadium there or the money to build one. They have neither and have demonstrated zero ability to get things done. Order supplies from the website that's made for the skilled trades. Find thousands of parts from hundreds of brands in just a couple of clicks at supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com gives you 24/7 access to a huge selection of plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with fast delivery anywhere in the United States. Need help with an order? Get industry-leading after-sales service from their friendly and knowledgeable customer support team. Talk to a real person every time. And there's great news for plumbers, technicians, and contractors. Being a pro has its perks. Trade industry professionals can join their free Trade Master program for free shipping and serious discounts on every order. Over 100,000 pros already trust the Trade Master program to deliver results. Apply for your membership today and get a competitive edge on every order at supplyhouse.com/TM. Save money and time when you order online. Order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Hey, what's your hub for all your sports news? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you to bring you the biggest sports stories out there. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channel app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Okay. I'm sorry to be so negative, but what are you going to do? Hey, do you know what it's time to do? I'll tell you exactly what it's time to do. Let's read some viewer comments. And by the way, if you're listening to us every single day and you want to post something on our sites, use the hashtag EverydayAs. It lets us know who's listening out there. I was been talking about some of the things about if they move, what they should do with the name. And AJ, where is it here? AJ Dress says, call the Las Vegas team the Aces. They could still use the old A's logo. I think that's great, especially, and by the way, if you don't know what he's talking about, if you looked at when the A's were in Philadelphia and their first few years in Oakland, when they were in KC, they mainly had the KC letter on their hat, but they did have this. But they had the A on the cap. It didn't say A's. It was just an A. and it looked like the A that you would find on an ace card. I think the Oakland Aces is great, and I do believe they should change the name. I've been adamant about that, and I think that if this move to Las Vegas ever happens, I'm not convinced that it's going to, but if this move ever does indeed happen, then I think they should change the name and reflect the city. And I think that would go a long way to getting people to support the arrival of the team. It's the point I made before. When the Twins moved from Washington to Minnesota, they weren't the Minnesota Senators. They became the Minnesota Twins. They created a new identity. More than one by the way, I have to say, more than one person wrote to me saying, they were the A's in Philadelphia and Kansas City. Yeah, I know. I did a whole video about the Philadelphia A's walking around Philadelphia. I made a mental note of that. I still think they named the Elephants. Connie Mack should have called them the Elephants. Speaking of the Connie Mack Philadelphia A's, let's listen to Rapal Bum Depot 7648. I have no idea what that name means. None. Zero. Easy fix. Have one team adopt the old Philadelphia blue and red color scheme and go by Athletics. They get the elephant. The other team goes by A's and have the Charlie Finley era green and gold color scheme, with other team perhaps being an expansion team. Now, all right, I hate to break the news to you. If there's ever going to be an expansion team, there's a better chance that expansion team will be assigned to a rowboat sort of rowing around the coast of Melbourne, Florida, than it will be to Oakland. And I hate to say that, but it's true. There isn't a way in hell that they will have an expansion team in Oakland, with the possible exception if they keep the Coliseum, but they're not going to do that. That Coliseum is going to be knocked down in 3, 2, 1, boom. If there's going to be an expansion team, there are good cities. And I have said that if the A's had to move, there are places where they could land that would make a hell of a lot more sense than Las Vegas, and maybe more sense than Sacramento. Portland, Nashville, Charlotte, these are all places that I think make more sense than Las Vegas. But if there's going to be an expansion, and baseball will have an expansion soon, but they can't have an expansion until they've solved the A's and they've solved Tampa. Now, Tampa's solution, that's a whole other podcast, and I can't believe they're thinking about that. They figure out the problem there is that the stadium's in the wrong place, so let's build a new stadium at the same place. But this is not Locked On Rays. But once the A's go, there's no one's coming back to Oakland. The closest thing you're going to have to two teams in this region will be the other team in Sacramento, which I know isn't really the region, but there you go. Let's see. Troy Hoffman wrote in. He said, visited the, where is this here? Visited the Bay Area, went to my final game at the Coliseum on Sunday. Took my son to his first and final game. It felt like the good times with a decent crowd. There's 25,000 there, even if 2/3 were there for the Dodgers. I love that. I'm glad you did that, Troy Hoffman. I mentioned the one thing my father and I used to do is we would aim, when we would try to go on some of our baseball trips, we would aim to land in stadiums that we knew were facing the Wreckers Ball, so that we could go to a stadium and then when we see the old films, we see the old highlights, we can say, hey, we went to Three Rivers Stadium. Hey, we went to Old Cleveland Municipal. We went to Milwaukee County Stadium. We went to Tiger Stadium. We went to Riverfront Stadium. We went to, I mentioned Cleveland Municipal, the Vet, Baltimore Memorial Stadium. These are all ballparks that have faced the Wreckers Ball. And now you can't go to any of those places. So good on you, Troy. And I don't know how old your son is. I hope he's old enough to appreciate that. I know he will be later on. Save the People 2004 has written a novel of comments on the site. I had to print them out, bind them. I brought them to bed, put on my readers, fell asleep halfway through them. Eventually, I had to get the Cliff's Notes for Save the People. In terms of, but this is one of the 48,000 things he wrote. He said, uh, let's see, where does it say? In terms of lessening the burden on taxpayers, I think a 25,000 seat Rickwood Field type ballpark, aka with awning and overhang, would be ideal because it could be used in big league and farm club and also for Sacramento State games. So what he's talking about is what the A's should do for a permanent ballpark in Sacramento. I don't think anyone quite knows for sure what Sacramento's future in baseball looks like. The A's should transform Sutter Health Park into a replica of historic Rookwood Field. Both cities have similar weather, aka unbearable, with awnings and overhang would be appreciated during the days in the San Joaquin Valley. I think you may be on to something, Save the People. They need to, hopefully, they can come up with a relatively low-cost solution. They have to create awnings. They have to create awnings at Sutter Health. There's no way you could have people baking in the sun and my phone overheating in the sun in a Sacramento day game. It's just not possible. You're not going to, as I said before, you thought it was embarrassing seeing small crowds at Oakland. Imagine how there's small crowds in Sacramento. So you can't have it. It's going to be a catastrophe. But the other thing is, if indeed the Vegas thing isn't going to work, and again, based on segment one, I have seen zero evidence that the A's will ever play a single game in Las Vegas. If that is the case, and Sacramento becomes the place to land, then they have to come up with at least a good short-term plan to expand Sutter Health and make it so it seats at least 20,000 and have awnings over the whole damn place. If you have to do it modularly, I don't know. You don't know. Neither of us know. But if there is going to be building of a permanent stadium, I would love to have it feel like an Old West, like maybe something from the, something you'd see from Deadwood or something, because the Sacramento is a Western town. It's a desert town. It feels like even when you go to Old Sac and everything like that, and I like Sacramento. I think it's a nice city, but it does have an Old West gunslinger feel to it. So I hope that whatever new ballpark reflects there. But I've almost come to grips with the fact that they're going to stay in Sacramento. As I said before, I have zero evidence that they're going to Las Vegas. If Las Vegas is smart, they'll wait for the expansion team. And this last one has to do with me wondering whether or not I'm going to come back next year. This is from Channel 575. Come back, Sully. My dad was a Philadelphia A's fan. I follow the A's no matter where they play. Well, that's great. And I thank you. And a couple of you have shown, have been nice to write things about how I've been doing and everything. And this has been a lot of fun. What happens next year? It's up in the air. It's up in the air for the A's. It's up in the air for the franchise. It's up in the air for the podcast. But hey, keep them coming. Keep them coming. It helps get the podcast rolling. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with more than 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections. Then you watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the PrizePicks community today. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. And PrizePicks is available in more than 30 states across the country, including Texas, Georgia, and right here in California. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks for a deposit match up to $100. Pick more. Pick less. With PrizePicks, do you know what it is? It's really that easy. Hey, thanks so much for making Locked On A's your first listen today. For your second listen to more of me on the Locked On MLB podcast. I'm here to provide national expertise with my humor and my points of view and a little bit of my yapping to get you ready for the Major League Baseball playoffs here in the dog days of summer. Prepare for the Fall Classic with me, your pal Sully. I've got it covered every single day on Locked On MLB, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. All right, so we're going to see what the A's are going to do. They're going to Kai Busch has been called up. He's pitched in the minor leagues, making his big league debut today, age 24, for the White Sox, who are in the middle of a 20-game losing streak. So the A's are let's go out. Let's support the A's. Let's go see that. I'm going to be going to a game sometime this week. On Tuesday, the A's and the White Sox are locking antlers again. That's Bark in the Park. Bring your dog there. Ross Stripling. Cannon's pitching for the White Sox. Obviously doesn't have a good record. No one has a good record. And on Wednesday, we got a day game. Martin and Estes, 12:30. So win game one, take your chances the rest of the way. Look, you got to do this every once in a while. You got to take the team to the woodshed. This is nothing short of a calamity. And just think, this is what we know. Can you imagine the Netflix documentary that's going to come out once we learn this thing that was happening behind the scenes? Holy Toledo. Holy Toledo, to paraphrase the great Bill King. Okay, well, White Sox A's starting tonight. You know what happened. I don't. This has been Locked On A's. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.